These are 3 of the worst feeding mistakes that you can make with your cats. And if you're making some of these mistakes, it's okay because I made all of these mistakes with my first cat, and there's always time to make small changes now that are going to really impact your cat's health overall. The first mistake is really common, and a lot of people don't know about this, and it's feeding your cats too much fish or feeding a fish exclusive diet. And I did this with my first cat, Fluff. I was feeding him Friskies Seafood Sensation almost exclusively, and one of the biggest issues that happens if you're feeding your cats just only fish flavored food is fish is a really strong smelling protein. Cats can often get fixed or addicted to fish flavored foods, and then they won't eat anything else. And there's emerging evidence that feeding too much fish can be problematic. There is chronic mercury exposure and exposure to other toxins that build up in fish. So it is really important that we're not feeding our cats too much fish-based foods. The second mistake is feeding only dry food. One of the biggest reasons that you don't want to feed your cats an only dry food diet is it puts them at much higher risk of developing deadly urinary issues like a urinary blockage. Cats are not very good at drinking enough water. It's really, really important that cats get the majority of their hydration from their food, so they need to be eating a moisture-rich diet primarily. Food preferences in cats are a learned behavior, so if you have a cat that hates wet food, won't eat wet food, your cat actually just doesn't know that wet food is food, and you can actually teach him to eat wet food. And I have a bunch of tips and videos to help you do that. And mistake number 3 is feeding only one type of food forever. I would go to the store and just buy the same bag of food over and over and over and over again. Cats can develop boredom, especially if they're just eating the same food over and over again. This is something known as the monotony effect. But the other issue with this is that there are often shortages and food recalls, and if you're only feeding the exact same food all of the time, you could end up in a situation where you have nothing to feed your cats. It's also just not true that feeding your cats different foods is going to give them an upset stomach. The microbiome changes when you feed different foods, and so if you want to build a food rotation for your cats, you need to build it out really slowly so that your cats get used to eating different foods, and then they won't get an upset stomach.